Good evening and welcome to Prime Business. I am Pius Kojo Bakai. Looking now at our stories, Chief Executive Officer of DLX Finance, Joe Jackson, has welcomed new strategies mapped up by government to help put Cocoa Board on a strong financial footing before the end of this month. Key among the strategies include the freezing of financing of cocoa, roads and fertilizer. Speaking in an interview with Joy Business, Joe Jackson stated that the move will put Cocoa Board back on a sustainable path.
Entered the way it's been described.
Okay.
Cocoa Board was on a path to destruction. Cocoa Board was on a path to hate. There's no doubt about that. Look at the number of employees that were recruited. How productive is that organization? And remember that Cocoa Board, in fact, from time immemorial, Cocoa Board was even under the Ministry of Finance because of its own peculiar role. In the last few years, Cocoa Board has been put under Ministry of Agric. No attention paid to it, mismanaged. No, the people of Ghana deserve better. The people of Ghana need Cocoa Board to work better. Our country was built on cocoa. In fact, even if we had, in the midst of all these ministers, even if I had a minister for cocoa affairs, I would rather deal with it rather than some of the ministries that we have.
The Ghana Private Road and Transport Union, GPRTU, has clarified that it has not made any decisions regarding a potential increase in transport fares. This announcement is to quell recent rumors and speculation suggesting that the union would be raising transport fares following a decision by the Concerned Drivers Association to increase their fares by 15% effective July 22nd. According to the union, despite the recent surge in fuel prices, it has decided to keep transport fares unchanged whilst it continues to engage all relevant stakeholders to determine the appropriate fares that will not be detrimental to the public. Samuel Amwa is the Deputy National PRO of GPRTU.
What is happening is that GPRTU has not come out with any transport fare increment yet. And then the reason being that, before we come out with the price or transport fare increment, we have some certain component that we used to consider before we also think of increasing transport fares. Those components are the spare parts, the lubricant, the taxes, and the petroleum product. Yes, we agreed that petroleum product has gone a bit high. Recently, I think about 3 days ago, fuel price was increased about 4%, of which you all know. Spare parts has gone high a bit. The lubricant, battery, and other component that we used to run our business, they've gone a bit high. But it has not gotten to the margin that we'll use before we think of increasing our transport fares.
In a bid to improve diversity of investment products and market liquidity, the Securities and Exchange Commission has launched the Green Bond Guidelines to unlock new opportunities for investment to accelerate a greener and cleaner securities market. Speaking to Joy Business at the launch of the Green Bond Guidelines, Director General of the Securities and Exchange Commission, Reverend Mugbami Tete, stated that the guidelines will significantly enhance Ghana's capital market appeal to both domestic and international investors. Green bond guidelines will channel much-needed capital into areas of the Ghanaian economy, such as green infrastructure, water and waste management, affordable green housing, centralized and distributed renewable energy generation stations, among others. This is expected to advance the country's quest to combat climate change, conserve natural resources, and promote a circular economy. Speaking to Joy Business at the launch of the Green Bond Guidelines, Director General of the Securities and Exchange Commission, Reverend Dr. Daniel Ugbami Tete, said these guidelines is a testament to their commitment to fostering a vibrant and dynamic capital market capable of effectively mobilizing resources for sustainable development.
The Green Bond Guidelines that we have launched today basically now creates the framework so that we give confidence to those we call the asset owners, those who hold the money, to be able to channel money to projects that are not only financially viable, but projects that will protect the environment. So this is a very, very important landmark. And I can tell you that in Africa, indeed in West Africa, not many jurisdictions have been able to come up with a framework
Senior country manager of the IFC, Kale Kehofa, said these guidelines will become the blueprint for linking capital to sustainability while ensuring investments are not only financially sound, but also environmentally responsible.
These guidelines are essential for emerging markets around the world, and we've seen them applied and successful in markets around the world. So what's taking place here is not unique in a global context, but it is obviously unique in a Ghanaian context. But I think it's very timely. There's a lot of demand from not just financiers, or as the Reverend was talking about, from collective investment vehicles or the pension funds, but there's also a lot of firms seeking alternative sources of long-term capital and interested in tapping into the capital markets. And there's a lot of firms in Ghana doing the right thing in terms of the environment, in terms of green, that could take advantage of this platform to provide a greater degree of access to capital for their efforts.
The launch of these guidelines is anchored on the implementation of the Capital Market Master Plan, which is a 10-year strategic plan aimed at transforming Ghana's capital market into a deep, efficient, and diversified market. In more business news, the Development Bank of Southern Africa says although its energy investments have been negatively impacted by Ghana's debt restructuring program, it will not walk away from its long-standing partnership with Ghana. The financial institution made significant investments into Sen Power Generation Limited, one of the largest independent power producers, which controls about 10% of Ghana's installed energy capacity. But the power generation project, together with other IPPs, are facing difficulties because of government's planned restructuring of debts amounting to some $1.6 billion. Speaking with Blessed Suga on the sidelines of the 2024 Continental Energy Investment Forum, Chief Risk Officer of the bank stated that Ghana's economic woes may not last forever.
So we have been starting with the SADC and the rest of the continent now going over 25 years. We have massive experience in terms of financing infrastructure projects on the continent. What that means is we can take a lot of what we have learned and apply it. We are a long-term player, so we are not in the space for a couple of years and then we walk away. So we are a long-term player. We are able to go through different cycles of risk on the continent. The one thing that we know is that we do get repaid. On the continent, the investment, we do generate returns that are commensurate, with the risk that we take. So what I'm saying to you is, from time to time, you're going to have this sort of massive risk cycles that are going to come through. But because you take a long-term view and you sort of do thorough work up front in terms of bankability of the projects that we are financing, you're going to see that. One of the very interesting things is recently Moody's came out with a paper that actually shows that Africa has the lowest default rates in terms of project finance. So that has to change.
And speaking about the risk, Ghana is one of the countries that indeed defaulted on its sovereign debts, and we appear to be in a dire situation now, complicating the crisis for development institutions such as DPSA. Are you looking beyond the economic challenge, peculiar to Ghana, and would you say that you still put your money into that economy?
But this is exactly what I'm saying. You have to take a long term. You have to understand that risk goes through cycles, right? And if you are a long-term investor, it means where there are cases of distress, you are able to come in, work out those situations, and come out on the other side. And I can tell you now that the DVSA, having been on the continent for 25 years, for 25 years plus, we have been in this business now for over 40 years. We have gone through different cycles, including the financial crisis earlier in the current century. So what we know is that risk goes through cycles. You have to have the right capitalization. You have to have the right ability to withstand those shocks and come out on the other side with it. And what helps is the credibility of the partners that we work with, right? So if you look at infrastructure and investment infrastructure, you don't have partners that are going to walk away as soon as things become difficult. Yeah, but what I'm saying is this is something that goes through a particular cycle, right? So you don't expect that the situation in Ghana is going to be here forever. And as things stand now, we know that there's a lot of work that is being done with funders in Ghana. We know that there's a lot of work that is being done with international funding agencies. We know that the IMF is involved. We know that there are other people that are playing in there. And the government of Ghana has been very cooperative in terms of trying to sort out the problems.
While Sub-Saharan Africa remains the only part of the world which has the majority of its population without access to electricity. According to the World Bank, some 600 million people in the region lack access to electricity and clean cooking technology. Ghana is also experiencing its fair share of the crisis due to liquidity issues, which has created instability in the energy sector. However, Ghana and other African delegates attending this year's Continental Energy Investment Summit are hopeful that more funding will be raised to ensure energy security in Africa. There is more in the following reports.
As Africa continues to grapple with its energy security, stakeholders are converging in South Africa for the Continental Energy Investment Forum. Under the auspices of the South African Electrotechnical Export Council, this inward buying mission is seeking to provide respite to the energy needs of the continent.
The African Continental Free Trade Area Secretariat in Ghana, working with other partners and of course ourselves as member states, identified 4 high potential sectors for development in Africa. And I think we spoke about the 600 million people on this continent that don't even have access to energy. If at the base level your everyday person does not have, I think there's something wrong with the way that we are working towards achieving our Pan-African vision.
In spite of the enormity of the challenge, experts say Africa would also require a just transition by focusing on renewable energy.
Required that we utilize renewable energy sources. The African Union has got a position paper on the just energy transition and how we transition for the African continent, which talks to issues such as ensuring that we leave nobody behind. It's a sustainable way in which we do it, and we take into consideration the developmental mandate that we have for our continent.
Blessed Suga filed that report. Now, President Akufo-Addo is asking presidents within the sub-region to expand investments in human resources to support economic growth. According to him, this is key to address the unemployment menace affecting various economies. He spoke at an event to combat Africa's learning crisis.
Bank estimate that by 2030, the learning crisis in Africa will cost the continent over $300 billion annually, highlighting the immense economic implication of this issue. Speaking at the engagement, President Akufo-Addo indicated that there is the need to invest to expand investment in human capital to also support the labor market.
But I want to underline 2 or 3 things. One, the recognition that has to be made that we are in a crisis. And you can never have a solution to a problem unless you recognize the depth and extent of the problem. And it is important for all of us in leadership on the continent today to recognize, as the data shows, that we are in a severe existential crisis. We are not going to be able to overcome the challenges to development, which are the existential crises that we have to confront, unless we get right the reasons why we're here, foundational learning. A lot has been done in this country since I came into office. Reform of the curriculum, expansion of infrastructure, motivation of teachers to try and address this question. Obviously, still a lot needs to be done.
On her part, Chief Executive Officer of the Human Capital Africa and former World Bank Vice President of the African region, Dr. Obiageli Ezekwesili, called on African president to push for more growth within the human capital space.
You look at the development goals, the sustainable development goals, we find that at least one African country finds itself at the bottom 5 countries that are not performing well. On the average, the SDG index score for our continent is 10 points lower than the global level score and more than 20 points lower than that of OECD countries.
A reminder, you're still watching Prime Business. The Chief Executive of the Chartered Institute of Bankers, Robert Jato, has advised newly inducted bankers to demonstrate professionalism and good ethics. The Institute inducted 237 banking professionals at its 15th induction ceremony, with female professionals making up to 51% of the inductees. There is more in the following report.
At the 15th induction ceremony of the Chartered Institute of Bankers Ghana, 237 banking professionals were inducted, marking a significant milestone in the institute history. This year's induction was particularly noteworthy for sustaining gender parity, with female professionals making up 51% of the inductees. Addressing the ceremony, Chief Executive of the Chartered Institute of Bankers, Robert Jato, highlighted the institute's commitment to enhancing the banking profession through innovative certifications and programs.
It might interest you to note that last year we had, for the very first time, majority of our graduates and inductees being females. This year, out of the 237, 120 are females. That's 51%. So clearly we are on the path of sustainability. Mr. President, over the last 4.5 years, therefore, as an institute, we've contributed 1,017 trusted professionals to meet the human capital needs of our industry.
On this part, Chief Executive Officer of First Bank Ghana, Victor Yawasanti, who was the special guest of honor, heralded the depth, diversity, and quality of the new professionals.
Ethics is the cornerstone of our profession. It builds trust and credibility, which are essential for the long-term success. My career has been guided by a commitment to integrity and transparency, which fosters trust with colleagues, clients, partners, and the broader community. And at the center of this has always been ethics. I have to say here, and I think again you refer to it, that I'm a Rotarian, and I just finished serving my term as District Governor for District 9104, as was said. And if there are any Rotarians in the room, I'm sure you are familiar with the 4-way test of Rotary, which again does basically around ethics.
And that's our report company here on Prime Business with me, Pius Kojo Bakaba, for today's edition of Entrepreneur in You. The PhD versus Dutch passport debate got interesting in the Entrepreneur in You Campus Store event at the Great Hall of the KNUST, reflecting the need to innovate towards creating solutions for the youth in Ghana. Enjoy.
When your passport no kwano, like any general about much and you are data. Name is Abdul. I'm from KST. I rather just said PhD. If you collect the PhD in Ghana, actually, I want to ask my sister this question. Why are you from Nigeria? You came to Ghana, why? But there are universities there, but you came here. You came here for a purpose, right? No, so I have to also go outside for a purpose. Yeah.
A bit of correction on that. Ada was born here.
Okay.
Ada was born here, just that she was born. So by virtue of her birth, yes, she is Ghanaian.
With this, our hot sun, you are going for PhD. You see, you are here, you feel cold, right? Feel the environment. That's how, if you get the passport, that's how you feel.
No, not even if you get there. When you get the passport.
Yeah.
That's when you get the passport.
There is no sun.
No, you are saying that when you get the passport.
And you go.
So and you go.
Yes.
I thought when you get the passport,
Debbie, when your passport no kwano, like any general about much and you are data.
Please, let's give it up for him. Let's give it up for him.
A round of applause for him, please.
Okay.
Brought to you by Africa School of Entrepreneurship and supported by GCB Bank, your bank for life.